Imagine Alex Hormozi just posted a job listing looking for a video editor, and you're applying to it. How would you actually study his content to understand what he needs from an editor? In this video, I'm going to break down the exact process that I use as somebody that's been in the editing space for more than 15 years and has been working with some big creators. We'll figure out the effects that he uses the most, the visual style of the brand, and also, and most importantly, how can we as editors improve on the videos that he's already making? Real quick though, if you want to learn the skills that allow me to work with high-paying clients earning thousands of dollars a month, then check out my YouTube Animation Mastery program. In there, I break down in detail the styles of popular YouTubers like Magnates Media, Johnny Harris, Internet Anarchist, and more. You will also learn from A to Z how to use the 3D camera inside of After Effects. You will learn design principles, compositing, texturing, working with 3D lighting and assets, and much more. You can scan the QR code that's on the screen, or you can check out the first link in the description. See you there. Cool, let's go ahead and hit play.
$42 million.
The very first thing I do, usually, as I'm working for somebody, I look at how the video starts. What is the very first frame? And I take a screenshot of it. And I'm using a Google Chrome extension for that, by the way. This is important to me because I want to understand what is the very first thing that people are going to look at when he starts a video. That lets me know that this is what he thinks is the most important thing that should be at the beginning. So his face, first of all, is the very first thing that shows up because his face is already his brand. And then right below him, you can see that text shows up. And like you saw at the beginning, the text is actually counting up and up and up and up. And there's a sound effect that goes with it. So what he's doing is he's involving all of your senses. He's involving your visual sense by showing himself. Then he has very bright yellow numbers at the bottom. There's a dollar sign as well. People react very well to money. Like if you mention money right away and you post a dollar sign and a big amount, all of a sudden you catch people's attention. And then there's also the sound effect that goes with that counter. So he's also involving your auditory senses. So right there, from just this very first scene, I already got so much information that I can work with. And I took a screenshot so that I can have a visual look. And I'm going to be taking screenshots throughout the video and putting them up on a mood board to help me understand what their visual style is.
Dollars in distribution.
Okay, and the second frame, and this is not even 2 seconds in, he's already showing proof. Because it's one thing to talk about $42 million like he's saying here. In the internet nowadays, proof is everything. There are so many scammers, pushing up these shit coins and all this other stuff. And in order for you to stand out, you have to give them visual proof that what you're saying is true. And so what this B-roll does for him is not only does it position him as a sort of a leader or authority figure, but it also shows the grand scale of what he's working on. So the $42 million on the bottom now matches visually with the B-roll because he's working on some grand scale of things.
$46.2 million exit, $106 million.
Again, more scenes, more proof. He's working at a large scale. He's not by himself. This is all legit. Oh, by the way, we got to take a screenshot of this.
A $46.2 million.
And I'm going to take a screenshot of this as well.
Exit.
Or actually, with the exit showing up here at the bottom. Let me take a screenshot. Basically, I'm taking a screenshot anytime I see that there's something new being added. We're not necessarily going to be taking screenshots of every time there's a new B-roll footage, but more so, like right now, what I'm looking at is there's a new angle of him. So now I understand, hey, there's multiple cameras that are being at work. So if I'm going to work for him, I need to keep that in mind as well. If I don't know how to work with multiple cameras, hey, I need to learn how to do it.
Most people hear those numbers and think, oh, that's probably when he felt the richest. That's actually not the truth. The moment that I felt the wealthiest in my...
Another thing that I'm noticing, text. Text is super important in his videos. I can tell he appreciates text, and it's something that he uses quite often. Maybe just in the intro part, we'll see how it develops as the video keeps going, but right off the bat, I'm seeing text. And this text, by the way, this is a different font. So I'm also analyzing, okay, what kind of font are they using? I can see at the bottom, he has the bold text, and then he has the, this lighter text on the top. And he's emphasizing, again, he's talking about money this whole time. He felt the richest is, again, emphasized in yellow. And then right here, you see that text animation? So I'm also going to take a mental note, first of all, but also a screenshot to understand, like, okay, there's an animation going up. I can look at the video back, of course, and really look at it, but immediately I can see there's a text animation that they use very often. So I'm going to keep playing.
I felt the wealthiest in my entire life was when I had 100.
Again, the wealthiest is the bigger text, and then in my entire life is a smaller text. Again, hinting more and more at wealth, money.
I had $100,000 in my bank account.
And I'm already seeing multiple times, they like this money counter effect where the number goes up. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that. As I'm taking these screenshots, by the way, and studying his content, I probably want to take some notes as well. Let me go ahead and open up this mood board that I talked to you guys about earlier. So you just go to canva.com And here, you look at the templates, and all you have to write is whiteboard and press enter. And then just right here, it says create a blank whiteboard. And here is where you're going to drag all of the pictures, right? The screenshots that we took and drag them here. Cool. So here are all the screenshots. I'm going to go ahead and drop them here. And I can just kind of organize them roughly so that I can get a better picture. And again, just adding some text here and there. Counter text animation. That's one of the things I noticed. We're also going to write text slide up animation. I'm also noting what kind of text slide up animation it was. So when I watched the video, I noticed that it was sliding up word by word. Yes, we're going into a lot of detail with this. Again, we're trying to really understand his style and his visual look, as well as all the effects that he uses. So that way, later on, we can search those effects, right? How to do them if we don't know how to do them. And if we do know how to do them, how to do them faster. So we'll look up presets and stuff like that. And I'll show you that a little later. But right now, word by word is fine. And by the way, we haven't even fully built up this mood board, but you can already see there's a pattern going on. For the most part, he seems to stick with like 2 or 3 different font styles, and he doesn't really switch up too much from that, at least from what we've seen so far, right? But he always has this shade of yellow and then the white text that's at the bottom or at the top.
The moment that I felt the wealthiest in my entire life was when I felt the richest.
Okay, so I'm also noticing he uses this transition. This is like a seamless transition. So I'm gonna note that as well. Seamless zoom out transition. Could maybe use slides as well, question mark. And that's just to note for myself.
$100,000 in my bank account. That was the first big unlock.
Once again, we have a bit of a different framing. So we take a screenshot of this. There also seems to be a bit of a glow on the text. So just something to bear in mind.
For that, I was sleeping on a gym floor and doing math on whether I could afford groceries. Right? And once I had $100,000, that was when I stopped having to worry about tomorrow, right? About paying rent, about paying dues, about paying my cell phone bill, or paying my car insurance. You can't think about your long-term vision if you're trying to pay rent.
There seems to be a little animation here. And by the way, the transition they used for that, I'll show you right now. See that? It was a film burn transition. So film burn transitions. And what he does after, by the way, this is a sort of vector animation. Vector animation. And this means the animation is done with vector images that are found in like Vecteezy or maybe even freepik.com. This is something that we go a little more in depth inside of my animation mastery program. If you want to check it out, it's in the description. But for now, let's just keep watching.
My car insurance. You can't think about your long-term vision if you're trying to pay rent, right? That's just real. And so...
Okay, so immediately something that stood out to me as I was watching this. This right here feels like very weird framing. He looks so low to the ground, like he looks very short. But if you look at his previous frames, right? See, like his framing is a lot better here. It's also a lot better here. And even here as well. So I don't know, I guess maybe that was a bit of an oopsie or something. But again, we're taking notes on what can we improve upon. Depending how you frame the person in the video shows how much power they have over the screen.
Right? That's just real. And so in this video, I want to give you a 6-step roadmap as clear as humanly possible.
Okay, so another screenshot right here because this is something new. Basically what I'm looking at are pattern interrupts, right? Pattern interrupts meaning what's something that has changed on the screen in order to kind of demand your attention, right? It grabs at you. That could be done with a sound effect. It could be done with animation, as is shown here. This animation right now is a pattern interrupt. It's not something that you necessarily expect. Not only that, but it also looks like he's given a bit of a roadmap on what the video is going to look like. This is something that Mr. Beast uses a lot. So for example, when he's doing the cheapest boat versus the most expensive boat, he usually has a visual engaging animation that shows you, hey, this is where we're starting, and then this is where we're ending. So I'm gonna take a note of that. Visual roadmap showing the path of the video. Having watched Alex Hormozi for quite a while, I believe he does this in almost every video. So this is quite an important step to note down.
If you're a big baller business owner, then you can skip this one. But if you don't have that yet, then this is just a pure give on my part of trying to help you get there. The first step is that we have to cut all costs.
We take a screenshot of that because it gives us a bit of a look on how they transition throughout the roadmaps, right? So we get a good idea.
When I say all costs, I mean all costs. That means you don't eat out anymore for anything. And if you're hungry, you deal with it. And if it's not from a discount grocery store, you don't buy it. Clothing? Like...
Okay, this looks a little different from when he previously did it. So you remember, if we look back at our mood board, this is what it looked like before. And now this is what it looks like now. So you can see there is a solid, right? Like a purple-ish solid. And we can actually use a program called Color Slurp. And we can take a look at what it looks like. We can see what color it is. It's actually a bit of a bluish color if you look over here. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot of this.
But I had roommates that I was paying like $300 or $400 a month for a very long time while I was beginning my business and started to actually make real money, and I still stayed there. Now, the next thing is going to be your car. So if we think about
okay, so far, as you've probably noticed, the editing has toned down a little bit, right? So now it's Alex talking, and there is text showing up every now and then, but it's not as in your face as it was in the intro with the B-roll and the text animations and all of this other stuff. So it's toned down quite a bit. So again, taking a mental note of that. They put a heavier emphasis on the intro, the hook of the video. And by the way, I don't just take note of this so that I can then later edit like him, but I also take mental notes of this to understand how he thinks and how the team thinks. It's also for me to see, is this a person of potential? Is this somebody that I can see myself working with according to, the decisions that he's currently making right now? Which, by the way, as an editor, even though we're applying to work with him, it has to be beneficial to us as well. Never put yourself in a frame where you're lower than the client and the client is looking down on you. And you're looking up at the client. You should always look at the clients that you work with as a collaborative effort. Never as if you're just a cog in the machine and that's it.
Ideally, a paid off clunker is the best way to go. If you can't, you want it to be as cheap as humanly possible, but ideally just pay off your car so you don't have to think about it again. All right, so that covers your food, your car, your shelter. And the reason that this is so important for us to basically stack up this cash flow, because you're working and making money, but right now you're probably spending all of it. So it's like we need to decrease it from the downside so we have this cash flow, this fluff.
Interesting. So they do apply a few animations every now and then to showcase exactly what he's talking about, giving you just enough dopamine for you to stick with the video. We're going to make a note of that. Dopamine hit. I'm just over here stacking up a few more frames. And by the way, quick tip is you might want to keep frames that are similar to each other, right? That have continuation from the previous frame to the next frame. Keep them together so that you can have a bit of a better visual look that, hey, these two are connected and they have maybe a sort of animation that goes in between.
We can start spending and reinvesting in getting more skills, which I'll talk about in a second. All right, real quick. If you're on this path to your first 100K, I want to make it faster and easier for you.
Okay, so he's doing a CTA right now. I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and I'm going to note down that at the bottom, he has a progress bar. You can see the bar on the bottom is going through. Again, just another thing to take a note of.
If you work a 9-to-5 job, this is kind of just the reality of it. Your 9-to-5 job is not killing your dreams. All right, so just stop subscribing to that. You're wasting the 2 4-hour chunks of the day that you do have available.
Interesting. So he also does these like Twitter animations, right? As if he's tweeting something out. Turn his words into Twitter posts.
You're wasting the 2 4-hour chunks of the day that you do have available to you, which is your 5 to 9 in the morning and your 5 to 9 at
Okay, so he likes to do this sort of highlight effect. I'll take a screenshot of that.
And I also say this as someone who did this, right? The reason that this whole I wake up early in the morning became a thing for me was because that was the only time I could get ahead. And so I very much believe in Kobe Bryant's perspective on this. It's like if everyone else is going to practice, he's like, well, if I do 2 extra practices a day, I'm going to move forward 3 times faster. And so
I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Just a little quick animation. You can see that Kobe, by the way, has a bit of a scribble effect going on. Very subtle, but it's there. And this right here, we can visually definitely improve upon it. I feel like this looks way too bland, even for his visual style. But to be fair, his focus is not about wowing the audience with editing. It's all about giving the proper information and making it as clear as possible through editing.
And so 1 is we got our money back. 2, we got our time back. Now that we
Perfect. I'm going to take a screenshot of this.
Have our time back, we need to minimize the distractions in that time period because focus is achieved not through addition, but subtraction.
I'm going to take a screenshot of this.
Let me just give you the simplest formula that I had. This is kind of like the 2.0 version, which is a 4-4-4 split. So if you're at 9.
Okay, take a screenshot. One thing I've also just noticed, and I've noticed it like twice now. Look at this line that's about to pop up over here. It reveals itself through a trim path. So see that? How it just came out like that? So I'm going to make a note of that. Uses trim paths quite often. So I noticed it here, and then I also noticed it back here when he was doing the circle animations. Right over here, you see that? So that's also trim path. And again, everything has a glow to it, by the way. Very subtle, but it is a glow.
If you don't have a 9-to-5 during the day that you got to go to, then I like to do 4 hours of promotion. First thing I do when I get up is let people know about my stuff. Because if nobody knows about your stuff, they can't give you money. The second 4-hour chunk is delivery. So you give the people that gave you money what you promised them. The third 4-hour chunk is building. So this is building the future, figuring out what to do next and how to do it.
Now that the animation has fully finished, I'm just going to take a screenshot so I can see what their text hierarchy looks like. One thing I forgot to mention, by the way, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but anytime there's like text showing up, there's also this very dark shadow that appears on the bottom. This is done in order to make the text a little more readable, because sometimes it can be a little harsh against, a moving background. So
a combination of two things. It's going to be the curation of opportunities. Like, what are all the things that are out there? I have to
screenshot,
see them,
screenshot,
find them. And then the second is the prioritization of those. Okay,
screenshot as well.
There's 10 things I could do.
Screenshot.
This one thing is going to get me the highest return.
Cool. Screenshot.
This is what I'm going to prioritize my time.
Another screenshot.
So big picture, you promote, you deliver, and you build.
Okay. So this is the very first time I've seen it where it goes up letter by letter. Right? So
now, regardless of what job or business you have, if you want to save time, you need to understand this concept, which is understanding whether you are a maker or a manager. A maker.
Okay. I can kind of tell they switched editors here because this feels quite different from the beginning. I don't know if it's just me, but the animation style and the way things are moving, it feels like someone else is editing this right now. And it looks a lot more like After Effects too. So like there's a lot more motion blur, zooms, there's like scaled pop-ups. This is not something that the audience is going to notice, by the way. I'm just kind of rambling on at this point. It's just me noticing random bullshit. Slight note, by the way, he doesn't seem to mind leaving in those moments where he like he takes a breath in order to keep talking. Usually video editors will be inclined to just cut that right out, right? To keep the video moving. Because you've probably watched videos where it's just like, oh, cut out every breath, every silence. So the video moves fast and the retention is higher and this and that. But what happens with that is the video loses a lot of humanity. He's not trying to entertain you. He's trying to educate you. He's trying to have you connect with him. This gives me a very important look into the kind of person he is and the kind of editing they're going for. Okay, I feel like we've seen enough already to really understand his style. So let's just take a look at the mood board now. And just at a first glance, you can see how strong their branding is. It just looks like each frame belongs to the next one. There's no weird like discrepancy in the look of it or the style. Everything looks cohesive, like it belongs together. And that's very important for branding. So if you understand that and you're able to apply it for your clients, they're going to really appreciate you. So here I've just kind of broken down how I would look for assets in order to really emulate the style that they're trying to go for, right? So for example, for the money counter, right? All I did was look up money counter effect on YouTube. And you'll find a lot of tutorials that teach you how to do it in After Effects, but you do want to look for this specific one because most tutorials that show you how to do this only get up to 1 million in terms of numbers. But as you've seen with Alex Hormozi's videos, I mean, he gets up to 42 millions, 100 million, so you're definitely going to need this specific tutorial instead. I'm going to link a lot of this in the description, by the way. And then for the text slide up animation that we saw in the videos, right? All I did was look up text slide up animation. Pretty simple, right? You might think it's a little silly that I'm breaking it down like this, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't know how to do a simple fucking Google search. Genuinely, you think you have a lot of competition? You really don't. In fact, the competition is so low. I want you to check this clip from Ed Lawrence. He was talking about how he forgot to send over something to his editor to add to the video, and the editor did this, which he really appreciated.
The most important thing for me was that I think this was the best thing where I was like, I like working with this guy, is I forgot to send him all the assets. Like, I just sent him the files and he didn't bother me. I just got a video back and I was just like, oh shit, I just realized I didn't send you anything. And he just went, yeah, I just Googled it. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. So many editors would have been like, you need to send me it. So now that's the system. I send him stuff. Sometimes he does come back to me, but that time saving on me is worth significantly more than I pay him because I can just get that out of my head and it just turns up.
That's it. All he did was Google search and already he stood out. Now, one step further that I would take this in is, let's say the text animation slide up, right? Let's say it's something that can be easily put into a preset or into a Mogart for Premiere, then I would want to try to search for that to speed up my workflow. So the way that I got to this video right here, which he's giving away his free presets for Premiere Pro, was by looking up text slide up preset. And I would say try to learn how to do it first before you just rely on presets and all that, because it is important for you to understand what goes into making certain effects. In order to find the font that he was using, all I did was Google search, what font is this? And it led me to this website, and then the process was very simple. So all I did was I took a screenshot of the yellow text. In Mac, you can just do Command-Shift-4, and then you can select the area that you want to screenshot. Once you have the screenshot, kind of like I do here, all you do is you drag it over to this website, which is myfonts.com, and then see it highlighted the text. All you need to do is identify font, and boom, there you go. It's going to give you a few ideas of what it thinks the font might be. And you'll see that, for example, the first one is TT Force, and it costs $48. Again, your competition would say, I'm not spending this money, let me just use some crappy text. But as we just said, your competition doesn't know how to Google for shit. So we're going to highlight this text right here, and we're going to press Command C to copy, and then we're just going to paste it on our search bar right here, press enter, and look at that. It's available in thefont.com. And there you go. You can get it for free. It really impressed me how consistent the colors were throughout the whole video. So again, if we look back at the overall screenshots, right, the overall video, we can see that it's the same exact colors all throughout the video. Even here when they did this vector animation, you see that the flag has the same color as the text. The only time that it was a bit of a different color was here, and it made sense, to be honest. But for the most part, again, it's just yellow, purple, white, and then this darkish, kind of bluish color. Now, in terms of transitions, you remember he did the zoom out and zoom in. Those are usually called the seamless transitions. And I just kind of found this one. You don't need to do this one, but it's just the very first one that I found. And it does the same exact kind of transitions that, you know, we looked at the video. Maybe try to get a different pack of seamless transitions though, because this one kind of looks like dog shit. But you get the point. Say I didn't know the fact that it was called seamless transitions, that I would go on Google again, and I would just look out like zoom out transition, and I am bound to land on this. And the film burn transitions, I just get them from Envato. Almost everything that has to do with footage, I get from Envato. It is a subscription, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to say, oh man, I don't really want to spend the money, I just want everything for free. But the thing is, spending money on your craft not only makes you look like a higher quality candidate, but it actually makes you more money, because time is money. And if you're over here wasting your time trying to look up things that are free, and then you land on a link, and it turns out that, oh, it's not really free, so then you have to check out another link, and yada yada, you know what I'm saying? Like, film burns are pretty easy to find, even on YouTube. I would advise you to just look up free ones on YouTube. But there are other things, again, that I think you would save yourself so much more time if you just had a subscription. When I started working with Hamza back in 2021, after like 2 or 3 videos when I got paid by it and I understood that, hey, this is going to be a long-term thing, I immediately invested into this AE Juice pack. And by the way, I'm not getting paid to show you any of these websites. I'm just telling you exactly what I did, because from very early on, not only did I want to save time, but I also wanted to stand out. And this, along with any other subscriptions I have, I've used with Hamza, I've used with Moon, and I've used with many other creators that I've worked with. So, you know, you don't have to dish out the money if you don't want to. By all means, try to find free alternatives if you can. But to be honest, man, I really, really appreciate these platforms right here. The same goes for vector animations, like the one that's done over here. I pay for a subscription on freepik.com. There's another website that's Vecteezy. I don't necessarily use that one, but it's also an option. Now, some of you guys know that I have a saying where I will look at a piece of work, whether it's mine or someone else's, and I will think to myself, okay, this is cool, but how can we go beyond that? And that question alone has been one of my biggest driving factors to improve my creativity. You immediately open up your mind to the possibility that there's more that can be done. Because if you don't ask yourself any questions, or even worse, if you ask yourself the wrong questions, you are, without realizing it, shutting down your brain from thinking of creative solutions. So by looking at Alex's videos, one of the things that I would love to see, that I would probably do if I was doing like a test video for him to show him, hey, I have what it takes. I would love to have some of the animations playing, but Alex still being on screen. And bonus points if he's masked out. So like maybe let's say I'm talking and then there's an animation happening behind me, something that he's showcasing. That would be very cool to see. It's very important for the audience to constantly see the creator on camera. It helps to create a stronger connection, and a stronger connection leads to them possibly making more money or just creating a stronger community in general. The next one I would love to see more B-roll of Alex. I feel like as I was watching the video, and I've seen on some other videos as well, I feel like there's never really enough B-roll of him doing great things. I'm talking about constant proof that what he's saying is actually true. He does what he preaches. And yeah, it just feels like there's not really enough B-roll of him throughout the video. Like there was in the intro, and that was great. I love that. But you know, maybe the video that we watched just didn't need that much B-roll. Personally, I would love to see more B-roll, and I personally would add more B-roll to it. And the last one I have is basically adding more dynamic transitions. Now, what do I mean by this? So right now, when the video cuts to an animation, it's just a straight up cut. Sometimes it can be a film burn transition or one of those like zoom out, zoom in, seamless transitions, right? But what I personally love doing are organic transitions. Basically, when one scene seamlessly transitions to the next one, as if everything was recorded in one single shot. So you can probably see some examples on the screen that I'm showing right now. But a lot of the times, the way that I love to do this, let's say, for example, right, we take one of Alex's videos here. And all we do is we just take this tool right here from Photoshop. This is the crop tool. And we expand to the top like this. We click Generative Expand, and we leave this blank, and we just hit Generate. Right, and here you see I've expanded the image, and to be fair, we can probably come up with better results if we try again, but I just want to give you the idea itself. So I want you to imagine this with me, right? Let's say the video is playing like normal, and then all of a sudden, the camera slides up to the top, and then at the top, the animations start playing. See, that would feel like a more dynamic transition. It's almost like everything was shot with one camera, like they were recording with the camera, and then they just panned up, and then when the camera pans up, the animations are playing right above Alex. I'm sure that's not something that's necessarily in their ideology, because from the looks of it, they just want to keep everything very simple, very minimalist. However, that's something I would do anyways, just to show him like, yo, these are my abilities, these are my skills. I'm not only recreating your video, and that's it. I'm going beyond that, right? This is cool, but how can I go beyond that? Very, very important. Creators appreciate when you do that, when you go above and beyond. Not just, oh, let me recreate what you want and that's it. Whoa. Just a cog in the machine. Just a fucking NPC, man. Basically, stop being an NPC of video editing. That's what I'm trying to get at. And look, of course, video editing, animation, all of that, super, super important. But the only problem is if you're lacking in communication skills, the opportunities that come your way are going to be way less. That's why I've made a video where you can click on right over here where I talk about how I communicate with clients to not just become their video editor or their animator, but to actually create a strong connection with them. And these communication skills allow me to build such a strong connection with the people that I work with that I become nearly irreplaceable. So check it out. It's going to be this one. I'll see you there.